Hi and welcome to another episode of Altered States Podcast, and today we've got my friend as a guest, so that's why I'm doing the intro. And
friends with Joshy as well.
Yeah, he's kind of mates with Josh, but Alec Hepburn plays down at Chiefs with me, and we lived together for 3 years, so it's really good to have you on, mate.
Thanks for having me on board there. Thanks for that exhilarating introduction.
Do you want a handshake?
Yeah, of course. Come on around.
Yeah, man. So I think the way, because me and Josh in like the first episode sort of went through a little bit of our background, and we probably want to have you on as like a semi-regular guest, obviously if you fancied it. So why don't you?
If I cut the mustard.
Yeah, if you cut the mustard, if you do well this week, we'll consider it.
It all depends on today. No pressure.
Yeah, it does.
If you do well, you might come back.
Okay. But let's.
It's a big might.
Why don't you start us from the top?
From the top.
From the top, wherever that may be.
Do you just give general background information?
Yeah, I would start off, mate. You've got like a mad story, haven't you? Maybe just start off in Australia.
Okay.
Living in the outback.
In the outback. Okay. Hello. I'm Alec. I started life out in Australia. My family is still out there at the moment. We started in the city and then we moved to the country, which was about 600k south of Perth. It was a pretty big change, actually. I sort of moved to a place with about 400 people, maybe 500 people. It was a mining town, so it had sort of its peaks and troughs. And then probably year one, my mum took us out of school. We travelled halfway around Australia. We went all the way up the west coast to start with. And we went to like all the hot springs. We saw the old sort of went through Ayers Rock. Got to see a lot of the old parts of Australia.
Well, so that was your mum was just like, right, school's not cutting the mustard. We're taking you out. We're going to give you some life experience early doors.
You know, I will have to ask her if it was for us or for her. But at that point, my parents were breaking up, and there was also another family where their parents were breaking up, and so the two mums, my mum and Kerry, there was 7 kids between us. They took all 7 of us, and we just travelled halfway around Australia.
You're still in contact with those?
No, I mean,
those.
Not really. I don't really
speak.
Are
they the same age as?
2 were older. 1 was probably same age-ish as me or my younger sister.
Yeah.
It was good, but just. I mean, I left Australia like 14 years ago, but I do actually look back really fondly at that, because I was talking about education recently, and that's 4 months of time. I've probably learned a lot more. I remember a lot more of what I learned on that trip, you know, cooking by fire, the dangers, because in Australia you obviously have a lot of different animals that can do you harm.
Yeah, of course.
And stuff like that. So that period of time, I probably learned a lot more than sitting in a classroom. And I do look back fondly, and also quite impressed that 2 sort of like single parents at that point with 7 kids, and they're probably 32, 33-ish age, took us away for like 4 months, and we camped by the side of the road, and we basically go everywhere, and so we're all
It does sound sick, to be fair.
Yeah, back before the time of phones and stuff, you know. So you had to know where you're going.
Have you ever spoken to your mum about that? Because like that must have been, as kids at that age, you're probably completely oblivious to like, I suppose, the dangers associated with that trip. Whereas your mum and her friend must have been like quite aware that, you know, like sleeping on the side of the road with your kids, like you got to be super vigilant and stuff. Have you ever spoken to her about that?
Yeah, I have actually more recently I've. Just because questions have come to mind, because we actually speaking, because we slept in a car park. There was like 5 of us in a van, and at the bottom of the car park was a river where you could see crocodiles, and I was shitting my pants. And Mum was assuring us it was going to be okay, and you'd cross river crossings where the water level's high, and these are all croc-infested waters.
Surely the crocs can get inside a closed van, could they?
I wouldn't want to try it, mate. I wouldn't want to see it tried.
But I would have. It's always, I don't know, maybe this is like fake safety, but I always think behind a closed car door, no animal can get inside there.
Invincible once you're in the car.
They do.
An open car, totally different story, but then you close the doors, I just think you're in like, I would feel safe from a Tyrannosaurus Rex inside one of them, to be fair.
I mean, those safari parks, you don't see too many mishaps, do you?
I don't know, but I have seen a video of a lion opening a door with its mouth.
No way.
Mate, I hear mad stuff about animals the whole time. I told you that story about the ravens.
No, go on. I don't remember. Oh, dropping the walnuts.
Yeah.
That's very.
Well, there's a ravens. They pick up walnuts and they drop them into the road. So cars drove over them and then they eat the walnuts.
It's a weird tangent, but I always wonder that, like with birds and like other animals, like how's their evolution gonna go? You know, is it gonna be X amount of years before you start seeing like monkeys, you know, fucking throwing spears and stuff like that? Is it gonna happen?
So are you assuming evolution is real?
I don't think so, because food will be readily available.
That's a whole podcast.
Sorry. Al, about these crocodiles.
Yeah, back on
the crocodilians. They were in the river. No, it was well, you said about learning things about life and stuff. You get out of the car, you have to check your wheels that there's no snakes in them and stuff like that. And then you just learn how to get on, I guess. So that was good. Got back to our little town after that experience. Back to school. Hated school, but it was always a means to an end. Always a very distracted child. I think most young boys are really. Managed to fill a lot of my time with sport. Tried to get rid of as much energy as humanly possible, and then after that I had a little bit more ability to listen.
What sports were you playing? Because you didn't pick up rugby till you got to the UK, right?
No, I never played rugby until I moved over here. To be fair, I played a lot of everything. Basketball and Aussie rules football were my two favourite sports. I still play a bit of basketball now when I can down Heavitree Park. I played netball, played hockey,
netball.
Yeah. Actually got best and fairest. I was playing against.
Were you playing against other men?
No. I was too young to play senior Aussie rules because I was about 13. So I played netball and ended up just taking the trophy off of them.
I don't see that as like as a real like. That's a strange segue into netball, isn't it? Because you can't play the senior Aussie rules.
Yeah, but it was just another. Well, it was just a different sport, you know? To have. Yeah,
they got quite a good. I don't know, from what I learned on my GCSE PE, the Australians seem to have quite a good attitude to sport.
I think
mass participation, etc.
I think it differs city to country. Like in the country, sport is everything.
Yeah.
But when you move to a city, people just sit around at lunchtimes and stuff like that. So probably maybe similar here. I don't know. When I moved to the UK, I couldn't understand why everyone sat down at lunchtime.
You want to be out there, just hoofing the ball. Well, but I see the Australians as a lot more as a more healthy physically population in the UK though. Definitely have that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And
I don't know whether that's just perception, but like,
or maybe climate has a bit to do with it.
Yeah, that's a good
more
point.
More sunny days, get out, more things to do. Everyone likes to be beachside or something like that. So swimming, surfing, get a lot more of that. Me and my brother, because I won't drag on. So we finally made our way over to the UK just because we didn't have a high school where we were. And so I twisted my brother's arm to join me. I moved over here when I was in year 9. And that was a big difference. Like, there was more people in my school here than my whole town. There was more people in my class than there was my whole school. So everything was just like supersized. I mean, I remember the first day, one of the ladies was telling me, "Oh, what set are you in maths?" And I was like, "What's a set?" And she's like, "What set are you in?" And I was like, I kept looking over at my uncle, like, what's a set? I don't know what a set is. Like, the PE teacher was the computer teacher and the maths teacher, like, in Australia. You know, they would wear many hats, let alone have 6 different classes of maths.
Different people.
Yeah.
Did you like it when you came over?
Did I like it? It was definitely like a good novelty to begin with.
Yeah.
And then the formalities, you know, I used to call teachers, not all teachers, but in Australia, you know, some of them, our PE teacher, you call by his first name or nickname and stuff like that, and he'd come over here, and it was very formal, and they demanded that formality, you know.
What was it, sir?
They needed that. So the French teacher kicked me out of my second lesson because I wouldn't say oui, madame.
Was it a lady?
I'd say yes, miss, and she fucking hated that. So
she threw you out for not calling her madame.
Yeah,
it's a bit much.
People demand respect.
This is what I was saying. I find it mad. There's some teachers who seem to not like kids. Surely that's like quite a big prerequisite to the job.
I think there's a lot of teachers that don't like.
But
kids.
like, why you would like?
I think maybe they get into it with the greatest intentions, but after spending years and years, because you know a lot of teachers, it's like a lifelong career, right? By the time they're in there for 10 years, they've probably gone from loving them to despising them.
Yeah, but we've got a friend, Sophie, hold tight Sophie, who recently changed from fashion to teaching, didn't she? Mm-hmm. And when she talks about the boys that she works with, and they're like, I don't think they might be 14-year-old boys, she's like talks about them like she's like there's quite a lot of love for them. Like,
yeah, for sure.
And I know obviously she's new to the game, but it just seems odd that you would do something if I hated animals, I wouldn't want to be a vet.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah, but I'm sure you can like some animals. I coached in a college, and believe me, you do hate some people. Like, we would send him on a lap, and me and my mate who was coaching, we'd be slagging some of them up. Only because they, you know, would almost, you would think, deliberately not do what you say.
Did you employ punitive measures against them?
No, I didn't actually. I just sort of, we'd send him on a lap, and yeah, I don't know. No, not really. We won't as disciplined. Less stick, more carrot.
Yeah, I'm down with that, man. 100%.
One of the other things when you got to the UK, and obviously you went from like a town of 600 to a school of over 600.
Yeah.
Was that intense? Because we went to London this weekend, and just going from here to London, and I've lived in London before, but the stark contrast between the number of people here and there, like, I was sat there thinking, I don't know how I lived here, just because it's so much.
Yeah, well, probably, definitely, like, really wide-eyed about it, because it was like everything was like, whoa, like there's so much more things to do. Like we didn't have anything recreational in Australia. You had to make your own fun, whereas here there would be like you go to the cinema, you could catch a train into, you know, another place or city or something like that. So yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it was probably my first experience of like. Sort of like different social groups as well, because there's such a larger pool. Most people where I was from would be, you know, we would combine years of friendship. I'd be with my brother's friends, but over here you'd have like proper subsections. Like you'd literally have the musician sort of groups, and you'd have like the cool people, and then you have the sport people, and you'd have, you know what I mean, like all these different
way
groups.
more divided.
Yeah, so it was a bit more like that. Like it wasn't just like a one sort of homogenous group. There was a lot more detail to the different folk here, but yeah, definitely. But even saying that, I always used to have like real anxious dreams. I was back in Australia though at that point, because I really enjoyed being in this different environment. And then
so you would be afraid in these dreams that you were back in Australia?
Well, in my country town,
because
I wanted to be in the UK at this point, and because I think once you leave a small town like that, it is nice to go back for short periods of time, but it is hard to go back on a full-time basis, because you've sort of been here, and you sort of feel like you've seen the world a bit bigger, and it's hard to reduce the size of the world to go live back in a small town. They're very good for holiday, but
in this small town, like, did you have a nightclub?
No, we had one pub.
But that's like an Australian pub, innit? That's like all stalls and that. That's not like a British, like English East End pub.
No, just an Australian pub.
But I mean, I always think when I see these New Zealand, Australian pubs, they always look like quite like uninviting.
Bit of sawdust, sawdust.
There's no soft furnishings.
I was only 13, so I was in and out quite often. But you know,
did you have like what? Like was there? Was there like? Because I don't. See, if you're in a town of 400 people or 600 people or whatever, if you're walking out to go and buy some milk, do you like everyone you see? Do you know?
You know most people, like you would, or you know, recognise at least a high percentage of people.
Yeah.
And then you'd know, you know, a few. And people would always know, like your doll's kids or something like that. You know, parents would know whose kids are whose and stuff like that. So
yeah.
But I love I really enjoy life over here. And then I guess a bit more topical, got involved in sport, got involved with rugby, got involved with weightlifting, really enjoyed Olympic weightlifting. I actually didn't really want to pursue a rugby career. I told Rob Smith, if you remember him, from Wasps.
Yeah, legend.
Yeah, I said to him, oh no, I think I just want to do weightlifting and throw javelin. And I think he looked back at my school coach like, is this guy, do you swear on here?
Yeah.
I think he looked over and he's like, this guy's a fucking idiot, isn't he? Like, we're offering him like an opportunity and he wants to go throw javelin.
But I heard about your weightlifting, good snatch, and clean and jerk. But sorry,
clean and
but
twerk.
like your javelin, were you actually any good at javelin?
I mean, considering I had no training, I think I was alright.
So one sec, was this your like academy meeting for like Wasp saying, "Oh, we want to take this, this young man on," and you just turned around to him and be like, "No, I fancy throwing the javelin instead."
Basically, I think they completely assume that this is a like no-brainer. They were like, "Oh well, if we present this, he'll take this." And I had different thoughts because I kind of always had a side aspiration to go to some sort of games, and javelin seemed like a quick route there, but they gave me some space.
But why couldn't you have done the? Would you have been? You'd have been a dual representative athlete. You'd have done both. You'd been in the weight room and on the field.
Well, I think at the higher end, you probably would have to pick one or the other. But I really enjoyed both. I mean, weightlifting was about 16 to 18, which I think has given me, in rugby terms, a good foundation because I'm not the largest of props, but it's always given me a good strength foundation and probably a lot of strength through my hips because a lot of I was helping obviously Josh the other day, and a lot of the movement is through your hips. And obviously in a scrum you're always trying to push your pubic bone through and stuff. So I think it aided a lot. They gave me some space. I remember speaking to Rob Hunter actually, and we met in a coffee shop, and he not only does he always rinse me that apparently I don't have a good indoor voice, and he was saying how much I was yelling, but he was a bit the same, like this guy's just gonna go because he was saying we want to take you for England under 20s, and I said, well, can I do it next year? Because put it this way, I was the first to take a sabbatical. I was already ahead of Richie McCaw and Dan Carter. They were in their 30s when they decided. I was 18, and I thought I'm going to take a sabbatical.
But what was it just because you felt like you were in you greased the groove with the Olympic lifting, and you thought you were going to just try and run with it?
A little bit, yeah. I was, because that whole college era, I guess, because at that age, as you know, you sort of, your gains are at such a steep curve that you kind of feel like that goes forever. So in your head, you're thinking, well, it's not going to be long before you're getting into the higher tier. And and at the time, I was thinking, well, if I took a year out, what's the worst that could happen is you come back really strong. So I didn't actually see a negative to it. But it was actually on a college trip. We did like a tour, and we went to Argentina, and the ecstasy in team sport is so much greater because you have to rely on other people. So in fact, in a individual sport, the satisfaction is high, but it is only satisfaction. It's content, because in individual sports you're the only person who is responsible for the result, whereas you have to trust, which inevitably brings on a deeper sort of emotion because you're outsourcing the result to someone else, so you're trusting that someone else is going to do it. So the ecstasy in team sport is so much greater, and that was ultimately what made me can the weightlifting and javelin, because what I experienced on that trip was just unbeatable in terms of fun. And it was only a college trip, but we'd play, we'd all go out, we'd have these 7-hour bus journeys, all a bit hungover, like funny as fuck, and that was basically what turned it for me. It wasn't actually the rugby aspect, it was just the to sort of say what everyone says, like the camaraderie and stuff.
It's mad, isn't it, that's what stands out in your mind. And we say it a fair bit, that when you retire or when players leave, the thing you won't remember are the games, although obviously they are quite sick. Having good results, it's like if you have a Thursday off and you go out and you meet for a coffee in a Nando's, or you're having these 7-hour bus trips, or it's just like spending time with people. And I suppose that's why maybe some people struggle mentally when they're finished, because you are completely leaving that, and it seems like it's quite it's not like a gradual descent out of it. You're off the edge of a cliff. You go from every week having that kind of camaraderie every day even, to absolutely none of it, and you sat in an office or you're doing something else. And it's like, I do think that's part of the reason why it can be so difficult. And in my opinion, it's as dark as to say, I don't think there is much anyone can really do for you with that. It probably has to be an individual to get over it themselves, because like you can talk to someone all you want, but ultimately you're still not getting that kind of like satisfaction or pleasure or whatever it is.
It'd be hard to replicate. I mean, you have people that transition into coaching, so they've still got half a foot in it, because you're not in the changing room. You're still in the environment, but you're not in the changing room. So I can sort of get that. I think you just need to take it with the understanding that there is going to be a bit of gap filler into your next job or your next role or your next passion. Because for me, it's not really ever an idea of what's going to put bread on the table, because you can, as long as you got hands, you can eat. As my old man would always say, you can always work. You can always just hod bricks. You can work on a building site. It's not the end of the world putting bread on the table. What the end of the world is filling that void in the gap, because there's something, although the meetings are despised, like you cannot replace that environment, and it's that void, that passion, and something that you actually want to get up for is the thing would be a lot harder to replace. Because I would never say replicate, because you're not going to replicate that same environment. Do
you think there's something, and there's probably a question to you as well, Josh, do you think that there's something almost potentially physically, chemically, hormonally going on with your mind, because you're having every Saturday you're having this massive outburst of adrenaline or serotonin, dopamine, whatever, and I feel after games, I don't know if you feel it, you feel like when you've had a good game and you're completely spent, it's such a relaxing feeling. It's very, very cathartic, and it's almost like like a drug, I guess, because it has such a physical effect, and you're maybe like having that repeatedly, and maybe like this knocks to the head CTE stuff, maybe your body is in a physically different position at the end of your career than when you were a younger man.
100%. I think with rugby, like you boys, like you said, throughout the season, you're training every week. You got to focus, you got a schedule, and then the week culminates in this like experience. Whether it ends, you have a win or you have a loss. Whereas then all of a sudden you finish your career, and normally most rugby players, they got a little bit of money in the bank if they played at a decent level, so it probably goes from that to like absolutely nothing for a period. And then not only are you missing those peak experiences, the camaraderie, but then you're also missing that structure in your daily routine. And it's easy to fill that structure with distraction, and this is one of the things we've talked about a lot, like people today, because of social media, TV, there's always something to do. People don't sit with their own minds and just like sit with their thoughts. Like it's a constant case of distraction, whether you're doing that with like alcohol, going out, socializing, social media, or whatever it is. And I think like my opinion is like you probably, when you come to the end of a career like that, you need to take time to accept the situation you're in. And I think it's so easy nowadays to distract yourself so you don't actually sit with yourself and come to that acceptance. But yeah, that would be my thoughts.
Well, sorry, go on. No, I'd add a tiny bit to that, because ultimately, as a lot of people try and say that they don't attach, their ego to their job or their identity or their personality to their identity to their job and all these different things. But realistically, at the end of it, you are probably mourning in the sort of most crudest way, because you're literally everything that someone really knows you for outside of your family and your friends, you're now finished in their eyes. And so I would say that's a mourning period. I actually spoke to Elvis. I know he's obviously signed at Ospreys, but this was prior to him signing there. And I said, "Oh, you know what you're going to do?" And he said he was going to retire. And I said, "Oh, okay, you're going to go back to Australia?" And he said, "No, I think I'm going to go travel for a few months and just sort of like have..." And he more or less said in different words, I just sort of like have some time to myself and just sort of like accept, and then I can move on. And I think that's a good way of looking at it, because if you've got someone who finishes that cliff edge, you play a game on a Saturday, and the worst of circumstances, you're starting a job on a Monday, and there's no time to actually mourn that or accept, or you can think about it, but once it's actually happened, you can think about something bad, like maybe, what if someone passed away, but then it's a lot different when it actually happens.
It is,
it's hard to prepare
100%.
yourself for it. And that's what I kind of would add on top of what Josh is saying. It's like probably all these distractions are there just to take your mind away from mourning, like the career you've had, or maybe feels cut short, what it could have been, or all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
One of the other things I was going to say as well, and one of the things I kind of like admire you two for, is that like you very much like live within your means, like, you know what I mean? A lot of rugby players, I should imagine, or a lot of people that earn money when they're younger, but they know that that eventually you two, your rugby career is going to end. The salary you're on now is going to stop, and you're going to have to find another job, and that job may not necessarily pay as much as rugby did. And it would be so easy to, when you're during your rugby career, to buy the biggest house you can, buy the fanciest car, and spend that money. But then all of a sudden you get to the end of your career and maybe your salary's halved or even quartered, and you're like, right, now actually I've got a couple of kids, I've got a mortgage, I haven't got much money in the bank or investments or whatever, and I've got to do something to keep paying the bills. And that's like a pressure that I think a lot of people might unconsciously put on themselves, whereas I know knowing you two, I know you both are very aware of that, and you are like not stretching yourself in that way. So you're like setting yourself up for post career, which I think is a really cool thing. And I think it's like, I don't know, with rugby, like through Chiefs or with the stuff you guys have done with England, do you ever have like people come in and give you financial advice? Do they facilitate that at all?
They have. I mean, they more or less send in the people of what not to do, like the gambling addict and drug addict and stuff like that. So they normally send in those people. You do occasionally. We had like some Sandlam came in, but it's definitely not something anywhere near the top of the agenda for the club. And I think other clubs do it well. I think we know obviously Sarries have like.
Sarries probably did it a little too well.
Well, yeah, to be fair, they did very well. But I'd never hate on someone making money. But I think they did a lot more in conjunction with building people up, because a lot of them have got, they got.
Yeah, they're very pro having like a little
side gig,
a little thing on the side. Yeah,
but that's from the outside. I kind of think it would be twofold for me on that. Is one, growing up, I kind of always knew the value of $1 and then a value of £1 when I came over here, especially with how bad the exchange rate was. But living in, my dad was just a bricklayer, and it was, we got by, and so it was very easy to sort of like live a life and find enjoyment through it without conspicuous consumption. Like you didn't need to consume to enjoy. We would find it in different ways. And even now, like I drive Phil Dolman's old Peugeot, which was £200 and doing
Runs
very
well,
running really well. I mean, not that I don't enjoy projects and stuff. I mean, I've been trying to do an American car, but I kind of think on the most, I'm very content with living I guess a modest life, because I think the goal for me at the end of a career would be at least some financial freedom, whether that is not having a large mortgage over your head, because all those problems we were just talking about will be exacerbated if you have the financial pressures on top of it. If you've got a wife and kids and a big mortgage, and you've just finished a career that you love, it's like that's a lot of things to take at once. If you're obviously living within your means, you know what, that's not such a big issue all of a sudden, and then you can focus on the important things.
It seems so obvious that, but it is in society now we're told to always like overreach or spread yourself quite thin almost. It just seems like so clear and obvious, but it's bizarre that that's like, I don't know, maybe an alternative view to have. Do you live like that, you know? It's
the whole like concept of keeping up with the Joneses, right? It's like, you know, you see your mate get a really nice car, and you're like, oh, you know, I'd really like a nice car, but ultimately, for me anyway, the best things are often free. Like, we went up to the River Dart Tuesday last week.
What a day!
Took a half day off work, boiling hot sun, just like jumping in the river. Chilling, and then like the other night we went up the beach, got a couple of steaks, cooked them on the barbie, and like I know you obviously steak's not the cheapest cut of meat, but like it's not, you know, it's not an expensive lifestyle.
Cheaper than eating out.
It's cheaper than eating out, and like for me that's like I get my most enjoyment out of that for sure.
Yeah. We just need to quickly touch on that river trip, because there was a naked guy down there, and we need to.
Well, we covered it. I guess I suppose Alec can come in as the third person.
Where do you stand on that?
On what?
Actually, we should do a little bit of a background. So for people that hadn't watched mine and Harry's last episode, we went to River Dart, and there was a bloke that came down. He was already there actually when we got there, and he was completely stark as naked. And then as we arrived, a lot of other people started arriving. And we'd kind of.
There wasn't a lot. There was some. Maybe 10 to 12 people.
Yeah. But it was like all the spots were kind of full on the riverbank, weren't they?
Yeah.
And we'd moved to the farthest spot just because that was empty when we got there. And then he sort of came down and commandeered our spot and was just sat there naked. And Harry was
Todger out, hey?
Yeah.
He did have his Todger out. Yeah. And I what?
Yeah. Well, you thought it wasn't fair play.
No. No.
Well, no. You said.
I said like. And I stand by it. I thought that we obviously we'd gone to the furthest spot for a reason, because it was good and it was away from everyone. I did think he was trying to move because kids came by and stuff like that. But I don't know, like, is it the people who's looking at him's problem because they're the ones that aren't comfortable with a naked human body, or should he just put a pair of? Or he was actually wearing a G-string, of loose-fitting G-string for portions of the day, and sandals.
Little high-waist.
But he wasn't. What I mean is, I'd actually be. It wasn't like a lace G-string. It was like made of like cloth. But I'd have felt a lot better about it if he was happier. He wasn't happy about. He had a bit of a mood to him, and it wasn't. But I just where. So what do you think about
that? Well, if you go to Spain and you go on the beach, you get pretty desensitized to. Tits, don't you? So my point is, you're saying is it actually you or them? And I'm saying if you go to a different culture, actually they're semi-naked all the time. And also I can't really say anything bad because I lost the game of cards and I had to do my own little nudist.
Yeah, but there is something different to a bare ass than to a bare dick.
When you did your nudist. So
break that down. Was this teed up because of?
No.
We are genuinely going off the dome here. I haven't. Maybe it's subconscious.
Shooting from the hip. I think that's going to be the name of the episode. Yeah. No, when you did your thing, did you? So you had to go naked. You lost a card game right on the beach.
Yeah.
And was that were people? Was it a nudist beach first of all? Yeah,
it was like semi. I reckon about a quarter were.
So it wasn't like all eyes on you.
Well. I'm not egocentric here. Nah, I don't think so. I actually waited till like young 20s like girls were facing the other way. Then I made my quick mad dash down into the water, and I was like in the water for ages, just waiting until they weren't looking until
you came back.
Come back. Yeah, I'd say. It's very nice swimming, you know.
No,
naked.
I agree 100%. And like,
You do bathe naked as well, don't you, Harry?
well,
So-
and you're born naked.
Yeah.
And you're born naked. I do agree with that. I don't. What do you mean? And I bathe? Of course I bathe.
No, I'm just saying it's nice, mate. It's a bit of a liberating feeling. Maybe
I agree. It's just this guy's attitude. He didn't seem to be enjoying it. It was almost like he was like trying to prove a point that he could be naked down by the river, and like we all had to look at him. That's almost what I felt. But was that just my perception? Of the
No, I
situation?
agree with you. He didn't seem like a happy nudist, but like it's hard to judge obviously what's going on inside someone's head from their. No, well, there is obviously a correlation usually between like a facial expression and what they're thinking inside of their head, but I don't know. I just think there's so many areas of grey with that. My opinion was sort of like, you know, pro-choice, like everyone do what they want to do, but at the same time, would have I done it personally? No, especially when there was like kids around and shit.
Yeah, and I think that's I'm kind of on board with what you say.
Any final words, Alec?
no, no final words.
Right,
The jury's still out on that one. You know, we'll keep.
so we've gone like on a mad tangent there, but like where do we? Because we were going through your story some way back about 10 minutes ago. So we got to actually. I had a couple of questions going back to the. So you're debating playing rugby.
Yeah.
One question for both of you actually. Did you both start out playing prop?
No, I started winging fullback, and because it was the easiest position to play, because I only started playing in year 10, so it would have been a lot harder in the forwards with scrum and line out and all that stuff. So I started there, and then slowly worked my way in 8, second row, prop. Now, I mean, only thing was left is bench and then cut altogether.
Or you're saying prop's the worst position on the pitch?
No, I'm just saying I've worked from 15 to 1, and now I'm going to be 17 and gone, I reckon.
Were you playing wing at your sort of DAP?
DAP?
Yeah, like your like sort of size.
Is that an expression?
I was a
maybe a Welsh thing.
I was definitely a husky winger. Me and Adam Page, you know, our school coach, like big wingers. Proved to
Who's
be
Adam Page?
A player from school.
Sort of
Proved to be a bad decision because we didn't win anything really, but we punched above our weight at Gillets.
Yeah, nice.
Yourself, Harry, you were tight head all the way through, weren't you?
Tired and loose head. A little bit of hooker when I was 13. I had a bit of a growth spurt, and then I've never played any
Up or
other position.
out?
What about you, Joshy? What did you?
Yeah, I always actually played hooker. Always played. I've like played a few odd games on the flank and stuff like that, but yeah,
Purist.
mainly hooker. Yeah,
I like
purist.
it.
Yeah,
I like it.
Flat ball. Like you used to throw a good flat ball. I do recall that.
Yeah, good.
Not
Darts.
too much on the shape. You were quite heavy-handed. He used to he'd pop balls. He'd hold them so hard on the sideline.
Tell you what, you know, we've talked about doing making some other video content as part of this Altered States.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
We can do some throwing as part of that, and I can show you my lob and my back ball.
We'll open that top.
Do you think you still got it?
I have no idea. I've got a very flat rugby ball in the in that box out in the gardens. Maybe we can have a go after this.
Here's a question: because you'd have been 20 when you stopped playing.
Yeah, right.
I remember you ringing. Yeah, because so it'd been my first year, freshers year, Josh's second year. At the end of it, I remember you because you were like telling everyone, "Oh yeah, I'm not playing anymore. I'm giving it up." Did you miss it at all when you stopped playing, or were you just like, "I need out," basically?
I was sick of it. I finished because I was sick of it. I didn't want to play anymore. So like at first, yeah, I was glad to finish. And then when I went to Bath, I played like pre-season. But then my schedule for my courses came out, and I was basically full day blocked out Wednesday 9 till 5. So I couldn't play any of the games. So I only played 3 pre-season games. I think I didn't massively enjoy the pre-season, but it was very different vibe at Bath than it was at Loughborough. Like Loughborough was a lot of fun, like in the rugby club and stuff, and Bath was like a lot more tame in my experience anyway. So yeah, it wasn't as much like as social. And then I suppose I don't know, like when I watch the World Cup or something, and I just get like fully like hooked on rugby again for like small periods of time. Yeah, I do think about it, like potentially going back and playing, but the demand, I just couldn't imagine going and playing for like a local club around here, and just enjoying it. So
This could absolutely tear up though. You could be a massive fish.
maybe not
Sitting down all these people. Oh, actually, that's a good point. We'll just leave it in your head that you could.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But a lot of the lads who this is what I found crazy, because we went to one of our friends' stag do's a couple of weekends back, and like, so I lived in a house of 6, and I think all 5 of them have now retired from playing.
Yeah.
Through like either injury or just time commitments, concussion, a couple of them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's just mad, because
but you're no spring chicken anymore. You're almost 30. People tend to retire as they get older.
No, I don't know.
No.
It's hard to do what they were doing. Like, mate, for example, Craig driving across London like an hour and a half to training to go to Blackheath, an hour and a half back after working a 9 to 5, and he was lucky in a sense because his offices are, he lives on the outskirts of London. His offices were like 10-minute drive from his house.
Yeah.
So, although he works hard and long hours and stuff, like, if you're getting up in London, 6:30, 7 o'clock every morning, getting ready, doing that hour commute into the office, working till 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, hour commute home, and then you're expected to go to rugby training.
Go home like 11 o'clock at night.
Get home, you're eating like smashing a shake and going to bed, and then you got to get up at 6 again tomorrow morning. It's like, it's long, mate. I can understand why people in London, they just go maybe play a year or two and then they finish up. It's it's
also happened
with
Jim, our old housemate. He's also just recently retired as well, and he just said that like he thought leaving the professional environment and going stepping down was going to be like, I don't know, maybe this is what I gathered, maybe he didn't actually think this, but he thought it was going to be like maybe more relaxed and more chilled. But he said he would get the train from his work past where he lived to go another like however far to the grounds. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That must be rank in the rain.
And what? So did he go play champ?
No, he played in that one. Played for Roslyn Park.
Yeah.
It do seem to be a lot of Roslyn Park. Their demographic seems to be like business people and ex-professionals, and that's kind of office work.
And what are the? Do you have any idea like how much people are getting paid in those sort of leagues?
You can get good money.
It's decent.
You can get good money. Like,
Well, it's better. I think the championship's kind of a dead league now, because you can get offered probably 20 or 30k to play championship full time, or you play part time on 15 or 20k a league below, as well as holding down a job. So in fact, you can probably start getting 50, 60, 70 just from a full-time job, 2 days a week, getting a bit of a retainer. So I think the championship was just a bit of a lost cause. Now, if I was ever to recruit, I'd probably go into Nat 1, because anyone who would think about it would be much more logical to go there to play.
But the only exception to that is, I think that makes complete sense, but the one exception is, so someone like Harry, who finishes at Loughborough, doesn't get signed by a Prem club, but has still got aspirations to go and make a proper career.
And Alec also, we actually played in the same.
Yeah. Oh, you played in the championship.
We were in the champ the same year. Yeah. Alec actually got red carded.
On the last day. Did you play against each other?
Yeah.
No, we actually never.
Dumb tackled Harry on his head.
It was not. No, me and Alec, it's kind of weird. Our circles, if you can think of our spheres, we like moved in very similar spheres. We were never friends until we were like early 20s. Alec never used to kind of really give me the time of day when I was at Wasps.
You were both at Wasps at the same time, right?
Yeah, I wasn't. He was sort of kind of in with like the in crowd at Wasps. Do you know what I mean? He was sort of like
Harry would be too petrified to come out to train, and that he admitted that when late you'd poke your eye over that little bit of glass to see if everyone was still warming up. We did sort of cross paths, but you were still at uni, so I think you described as two ships passing in the dark at night. And then when you came to Exeter, I was like, oh yeah, hey mate, you alright?
And then we connected. Made the connection.
Yeah, took a couple months for you to settle in, but once you did, you've been quite the hit.
Never looked back.
Quite the hit.
Were you two? When you moved to Exeter, because was it like a academy house and you both moved into it, or like the equivalent of?
I just got a house share. I just went on spareroom.com actually. 2 Polish, 1 Kiwi, myself.
Above Domino's.
Dangerous.
And
then And then I moved into Sam Hill's place, and you came the same year.
I was.
You did a year with Moulton. And
I did a year with
Johnny.
Sean Moulton and Johnny Hill, and then moved in with Alec, Tom Francis, and Sam Hill into Sam Hill's. Yeah. I think he still owns the gaff. It's in a village just out the. It's not too far from here. It's over in Aylesbury.
Yeah, nice. So we've actually missed a little portion here. So when you decided you were going to full go with rugby, what age were you there?
Came back from that trip, that college trip, and so it was probably about 4 months later after saying that I wasn't going to do it. But I actually just went down to my local club, Henley Hawks, and I actually just got involved. And then I just spoke to Rob Smith, who was with Wasp, and said, "Oh, I think I'm just going to go play a bit of rugby down here." And he was very much like, "Yeah, go for it. Like, it's just nice to hear you want to, and we can just keep tabs if you want." And so I was like, "Cool." Did that. Pardon me. And then the following year, so I think I did a bit of like age group representative, sort of under 20s. Following year, I was up in London.
What? Sorry, England under 20s. That was.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And then moved up to London the next year, where I actually had my first good injury. So I tore an ACL. So I kind of spent that year just on the sidelines, and then spent a year at loan at London Welsh, where me and Harry would have crossed paths against each other. And then at that point, I actually, because I lived in the UK probably about 7 years at that point, and all my family had gone back to Australia, so I just was getting a bit homesick, wanted to go back, so I did go back, and there was nothing really there. I was kind of walking the plank, I'd spoken to people at the Western Force, and there was nothing concrete, but they were like, "Yeah, just come, just play," and I did that, and it was quite a I don't know, it was definitely a different turn, because it's a lot different going somewhere with the guarantee of a contract, where that time I didn't. So I actually remember waking up and I had jet lag, so I was about 3 a.m, and I was thinking, fuck, like, there's no security here. So I actually got up and went for a run, and I remember it because I was just like, I really need to make this happen. So I ended up playing some representative stuff over there, like a provincial sort of stuff, and I got injured again, this time with cartilage, and so it's a bit different in Australia with the medical systems, and I told the club at the time, like, look, I'm not currently covered with my insurance because I have to wait 3 months, because I had a scare the week before. They were aware of it. And they kind of did this, like, don't worry about it, like, we'll look after you. And then realistically they didn't, and I ended up forking out for my own operation. And then they sort of came back into the fray, like, yeah, like, we want to offer you something,
So how long were you out for? Were you in correspondence with the club? You had the op, and then you were like, what, doing your own rehab, and then they spoke to you? Or did they speak to you as soon as you forked out for the operation?
No, well, because they were always in contact, because they got injured on their watch, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then after the operation, probably like 10 days of like recovery at home, and they started bringing me into the club, and then I was only young, but I just felt they'd poured me off onto like the uni intern, and sort of just like, yeah, just do some stuff over there. And I just kind of thought, I left a professional environment, and they, I treat a lot differently in the professional environment in the UK. And I think, over there, it was like very status, like, because they had club players and professional players.
Yeah.
And they would always distinguish between that. They'd be like, the professional players will do this, and the club players will do this.
Was it like the professional players eat first?
Yeah, kind of. They had first dibs on everything, and rightly so. They're getting paid, but I just kind of, it was definitely, maybe it was my pride that needed to take a bit of a hit, but it was definitely a shake up to what I was used to.
Yeah.
And then so when it came around to it, they sent, oh, have you spoke to Cinderbury, the CEO? I was like, okay, I'll go speak to him. It was like, oh, have you spoken to Michael Foley? So I'd speak to him, and then it was like kind of felt like a back and forth. And at that point, I was just like, "Fuck this! I'm now open to ideas of going back to England." And probably the moment, and I remember vividly. I think I might have told you in the past. I was on. It was my mate's 21st, and we just had like a day out. I think they hired a boat, and after we got back onto the land, we went to a bar. And at this point, I was still in a brace, and probably only a month after an operation. And we were in the bar, and it was England versus Australia. And I remember watching, just honestly, like I felt it sobered me up instantly. And I was watching, and I was like, I'm in the wrong place here. I saw Anthony Watson. I think Knowlesy was playing, because I did age group with these guys. Billy Vanapola played, and I lived with him the year before that, before I moved back to Australia. So there was these people that I'd been around, in the same circles, did under 20s with all three of them. There might have been a couple more at the time. And I was watching it on the TV in a bar, and like the whole bar was moving, like everyone not really paying attention. It was just background noise, and I was just standing there like with a beer, just feeling like just an energy sort of take over, like a shiver up my spine. And I knew instantly I was in the wrong place. And at that point, I think I left quite soon afterwards. I just wanted to go do something. I wanted to whatever. I couldn't run, but I wanted to do some push-ups or something. Yeah. Because I felt where I was so far away physically, both from distance from the UK, but physically in terms of being able to play, being recently injured. And so it was that point it kind of really drove home the idea that I need to go back. And so I started opening myself up to conversations with different clubs, and then Exeter really sort of came through as a shining light. They knew I was injured. They were happy to take me on injured. They were happy to pay for me to come over to the UK. I actually needed another operation, so the way Rob described it, he was like, "Look, just come over. We'll pay for you to come, operate, all this stuff, and if it works out, good. If it doesn't, well then that's fine. Like there's no pressure kind of on our behalf, sort of thing." And so really, I felt a real strong connection, considering I just forked out for an operation and always been pawned off. It was really it was just very, very good, or it was such a great feeling that a club really wanted me.
I have also felt that when sometimes when you're out of place for so long, or say the situation hadn't been right, like you were trying to get set up with a Western Force, was it? And like you're sort of, it feels like you're pushing shit uphill basically. You're like always trying to make something happen, and they're like not really fully on it. And then you would have spoken to Chiefs, and they're like, "Look, we'll do this, this, and this," and you're like, and it makes you it really, really increases your sense of self-worth. Yeah, because you're like, "Oh shit, what?" It's a weird sort of feeling, and it's kind of what happened when I went to Jersey. Because I was like trying to make this thing happen. I was on loan from Wasps to Nottingham, and I was sort of going back and forth, and I was doing the odd A-League and then driving back up and doing the odd session here and there and being really nervous and anxious. Speak to this club and they're like, "We want you, we'll do this for you, we'll do this for you, this for you." And it makes you feel important is the right word, or something like that. And that's why I think for a lot of players, young players especially, don't feel that you need to be shackled by the Premiership umbrella in inverted commas, whatever it is. Just go and do something different or something new, because it completely change your outlook. And you see guys leave clubs and go somewhere else, and they completely thrive, and their career takes a whole different direction.
Well, also at that age, you don't know what your value is. Yeah. Not talking monetarily. I'm talking, you don't know if you're a good player really in the grand scheme of things, because you might be playing against other 18-year-olds or 20-year-olds, and you might do well, but you don't have an overall idea if, is this good for my age, or is this good in general? Is this good to the point that I can make a career, or is this like you just got a little bit of potential? So I guess at that point you're completely reliant on external feedback. So someone will say to you, "Oh, that was a great game," or "We really want you," all these different things. So obviously, subconsciously, both similar, I guess, in that regard, that a club wasn't too crash hot on you, that you sort of feel like, "Oh, okay, well, there's something wrong with what I'm doing." Yeah. So, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. And so that external feedback is crucial. Whereas you know, obviously getting a bit longer in the tooth, you know your value to the team, or you know what your job for the team is, and you know whether you do it to a good degree or not. And so so at that age, to have someone want to have you, and you're so reliant on external feedback, it is like a huge rush of like, wow, like this is cool. Like they see something in me that someone else doesn't, or something like that.
Surely at that age as well, game time's so important, right? So if you're in a club and there's, you know, another 2 props that are ahead of you, and the club are really happy with them, they're young guys or whatever, and you're an 18-year-old, and they're kind of looking at you like, you know, we've got 2 really good players here, and they just kind of got you in the background. Whereas you go to another club and maybe they've only got 1 guy in front of you, all of a sudden you're on the bench, you're scrummaging, you know, opposite him during all the training sessions and stuff like that. That gives you some room to really, really grow, rather than just being like the guy at the bottom of the totem pole. But you know, and for me, I was probably like the opposite to you, Alec. Your sort of laissez-faire attitude on whether you wanted to be a professional rugby player or not. Like that was all I wanted to be was a professional rugby player. And like when I was at Gloucester, like I really felt the pressure of like, I've got to get an academy contract here. Like this is where I am. I've got to get here. If I don't get one here, I don't know where I'm going to go. And you know, the stress that puts on you as a young person, and you're 18 years old, you don't really know what you're about. Like you said, you're not fully developed physically, and also at that age as well, you don't know, like you said, you had like a massive sort of growth spurt at those sort of ages. You don't know where you're going to end up, and that place is a massive factor in rugby, right? How like big you get. And that was one of my problems, particularly because I knew I was small for my position playing hooker. So I was obsessed with putting on weight, and we've talked about it before. Like I'd get up at 4 a.m. and drink a Mascaina shake and stuff like that. And I could remember like going to lectures at Hartbury College, and I'd drink my breakfast and then a shake after. And there would be days where I'd stand over the toilet because my mouth would be like salivating. So I would have just stuffed myself like full. And because I'm reading like Teen Nation, like how to gain weight and stuff like that. And
£1 a week diet.
Just literally just trying to put on and like knowing what I know now, it's just like it's such a dumb way to go about it.
It was what you know, and also it's what you think, and what you think is the course to get you there, the path to get you to the end. I mean, I think metabolism slows down a lot. I used to do the shake as well in the morning, because I was always the 100 kilo prop. Like I got to 100 kilos about 16 and just stayed there for another 5 years. And I was thinking, what the fuck's going on here? Aren't I supposed to like keep filling out? So started doing that, the 5-6 meals. But it's necessary for that time, and it also shows, although you don't have the knowledge you did, it also shows the commitment you're willing to put into it.
Yeah.
You know, so it does show value or virtue in different ways.
Yeah.
I remember always seeing those people in lecture halls drinking proper. They always used to think they were like proper bad men. Were you one of those guys?
What, drinking a shake in lecture?
Yeah, I know. There's always like guys in shades drinking a shake, eating like a Tupperware box full of like egg and fish.
Yeah, that was me, man.
That was you, one of the stinks as well, man.
Yeah.
Tupperware boxes. I don't know what happens inside. I don't know the chemical thing that happens when you inside a Tupperware, a closed Tupperware box. Always smells like vomit. Or,
mate,
whenever you open the lid, it's disgusting.
The worst thing, mate, is broccoli.
Yeah,
yeah. And that was it. That was my lunch. Like every day, like chicken breast, broccoli out of the Tupperware. All those.
I opened that in the cinema. I was like,
no.
You just crack an edge. You're like, just let that just permeate a little bit, and you go there. I actually, when I went, when I started
cinema, surely you like popcorn.
No, mate.
That's commitment to the cause.
You don't understand.
No popcorn.
When I was at year 10 over here, or year 11 actually, it was when I first came into the gym phase, you know, like 16, going down to the local gym, like everything was about putting on weight. And so I went to Tesco, you know, the old rotisserie chickens you get in the bag?
Delicious. Yeah, know them well.
Yeah, so at school, obviously everyone has like their little pack sandwiches. I used to like have corned beef that thick with like 2 pieces of bread either side, just because I thought protein. And then I had like a revolutionary day, and so we got to school and all my friends were sitting around, and I took a plate out of my bag, and everyone was like, "This is a bit odd." I took a knife and fork out, and I held my backpack up, but opened the chicken inside it, so they couldn't see. They couldn't see. It was like out of a rotisserie bag. Turned it upside down. A full chicken just landed on my plate. I fucking had people in stitches that day. But that's what I thought you had to do, you know. So
did you eat the whole thing?
Yeah, I pounded that chicken, man. That went down quick, smart. Little protein shake to finish it off.
Yeah, of course.
As if I didn't have enough, you know.
I remember reading about, I don't know if it was Ronnie Coleman, but it was like one of the bodybuilders back in the day, and he used to like blitz up a chicken.
No, that's Derek Poundstone.
Derek Poundstone.
You know Derek Poundstone?
Yeah. Have you tried that though?
No, I never done it.
Have you tried that?
No, I've never done it. I never went that far. You've done it.
I did it. No.
Surely you got to have a strong blender, like.
No. Well, this is the problem. I went down to like Wilkins or something. So nowadays you have the old NutriBullet, which will blend anything up into like a fine paste. So I was like, right, I think this is how it is. So like, I think I put like milk in, and I put chicken breast in with like the skin and everything. Blended it, and honestly, there was like slithers, like 3 inches long. I'm like, just choking on this chicken. It's the worst idea I've ever had.
Sure, but he has a blender so strong it can blend a whole plus bones. You need those bones. Josh will tell you about that.
I know, but this was like the
grass-fed chicken.
This is like the cheapest blender that money could buy.
Is it such?
And
is it a grass-fed chicken? No, corn-fed.
Well, no, because you just need like basically you need free-range chicken that are eating like you want them eating worms and like whatever's around the farm. You know.
I thought they were vegetarians.
Chicken will eat a rat, mate. Chicken will eat anything.
No way.
Yeah, it will.
What's they eat? They're omnivores.
Yeah, chicken will eat anything. I reckon.
What do you mean chicken will eat a rat?
I reckon if there was a dead rat, the chickens would just destroy.
Is it
that
because
thing.
they have the pea brains?
They're just animals, aren't they? They eat anything. Like we saw when we were on the train station the other day, mate. There was a seagull eating a pigeon.
Was the pigeon alive?
No, it was dead.
I don't like seagulls at all.
Yeah,
Big
they're not scared of humans. That's always the animals that lose the sense of being afraid of humans. They intimidate me. I'm not gonna lie. Like rats don't. You know, if you were lying injured in a warehouse or something, maybe you've been kidnapped by by some kind of drug cartel, and you've been rendered immobile on the floor. The rats it was a rat infested warehouse. Eventually, they'd eat you.
Yeah, I don't doubt that.
Does that not scare you a bit?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of rats. Like, I don't know. It's just something that makes my skin crawl.
Because they're intelligent.
There was when Izzy and I were traveling, we met a French guy that had been traveling for like 3 years straight in Hampi, in this little town in India, and he was like on such lower budget. He was on like $5 a day or like €5 a day. That was his budget for living. So he bought himself, or he found himself a hammock, and he was like sleeping outside. And one night he was just like, I can't do it. He wasn't getting like good sleep, like it's rocking this hammock up wherever he could find. So he was like wandering along looking for like the cheapest hostel, and there was this woman, and she just had like a sign like bed for hire. So he like knocked the door, and it was a shed in her back garden with just like this little cot bed. So he was like, okay, right, at least I'm like inside. He said he went asleep, and while he's telling us this story, he's chain smoked about 15 rollies. And he said he woke up in the middle of the night, and he reached for he like has some pre-rolled rollies. He's obviously just like so addicted to tobacco. And he said he reached for his rollie, picked it up, lit it, and he said there was just rats everywhere, all over the room. They just scarpered as the light came on.
It's actually giving me like, it's making my hair stand up on end. That story, that's awful. What did the rats?
Yeah, he said
they ran away.
Yeah, he scarpered at the light, but he said then it was just like he said he just got up and left at that point.
There's a park near my house that's infested with rats. Crystal Palace Park. If anyone's ever been, you can't go and see at least 6. Genuinely,
that's mad.
6.
Like 6. Like I'm not. If my mum could come on this podcast, she'd tell you, man, the stories she's got about that park.
Maybe we should get her on.
Maybe we should get mate. She's seen like synchronized 4 rats diving into a bush.
Yeah, mate. They're in London. They're everywhere. They're literally.
Have you never seen them? Do you see them?
No, but you know, they're there. In Thailand, you see them all the time. Apparently.
In Thailand, you see them all the time. Apparently.
Yeah, in Thailand you see them all the time.
In Thailand, you see them all the time. Apparently. You know they're there. In Thailand, you see them all the time. Apparently.
No, I wouldn't say so. Not necessarily. You don't see them everywhere in
Russell.
Thailand.
But let's hear about these
Wrong.
these Australian creatures.
What would you like to know?
Well, like, have you ever seen a black widow spider?
redback? If you've seen, know what one of those are, they're pretty deadly.
Or is it worse?
They like
or
hide
better
in your
than a-
shoes, so when you put your feet in, they bite you.
What's this type of spider?
Yeah. Very,
Is that you
very
dead
venomous.
if you get bitten by one of them?
Yeah, I think they do kill people. Yeah, they're pretty venomous.
It's what I never understood about Australians. Why don't they have little vials of antidote around their neck? Why don't they have them in necklaces?
So I've got an answer for this. Right. Apparently, if you get bitten by a snake, and I don't know, you might know more about this. It come from Australia, but you need to know the snake you've been bitten by, because they need to
for
use
the
a
anti-venom.
specific anti-venom for that snake. So like that's for
Could
anyone.
you not have a selection?
Huh?
Could you not have like a selection of antidotes?
What, like 10 hanging around your neck?
Why that, like, because you were talking about, I remember we once briefly spoke about the town, Hope Town it's called, and you said like the nearest hospital was like 200 miles away.
No,
And I'm like-
about 50k.
50 kilometres away. Which I don't know.
But if it's anything serious, you'll have to go elsewhere. Like
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
city.
But then it's like, sure, if you get bitten by a snake, time is definitely of the essence. You're waiting for a helicopter to come in from
Yeah,
Perth.
but Harry,
like,
Harry,
he's dead.
You can't live life with that little safety blanket on the whole time.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, surely you should take some kind of precautionary measures.
Well, the precautionary measure is you probably just keep vigilant when walking through the bush.
Hyper vigilant.
Yeah, I'd say that's the precautionary measure, you know. And then you got to understand, snakes are just as I was always told, it could be bullshit, but just as afraid as you are of them. You see?
Is that true? No.
Well, not many snakes go out their way to attack you. Like we've had we've had snakes in our house. And
Black mambas.
Tiger snakes.
Is black mamba? That's the daddy, right? That's the whole.
That's Africa.
Yeah. No, we had a.
I'm from
We-
Australia.
Yeah, yes. We had a snake show once on. Were you there at that point?
No,
We
I
had a
wasn't.
snake show
I
on
heard
tour,
about
and this
this.
guy Malcolm in South Africa, he come in and he was doing like a show and tell about these. He had like a tarantula and he had this cobra, and he kept all these snakes in a big toolbox in pillows cases, and
Yeah.
he just pull them out with like a poop, the rubbish scooper,
Yeah.
and he'd pick them out, and he picked out this green mamba, mate, and it was not happy to be inside this pillow case. He pulled it out and it was like going like spitting venom and all that kind of thing, and I was like, he doesn't seem that scared, like it seems quite agitated. So I don't know, maybe that line your mother fed you was
No, I think
bullshit.
I think with
But
snakes,
that's, you always get rogue killers, mate. That one rogue snake could be the exception.
Yeah, no, that's a good
You know?
point. That is a good point.
I heard with snakes that they won't attack you unless they're threatened or they think they can eat. They like size up their prey, and if they know they can like eat the prey. So with like
That's an urban legend, that story.
well, we'll validate it after.
I know the story you're
we
talking
need
about.
Lewis, so you can get him to look it up as we
Yeah,
go.
we do know the story about when the woman's snake was laying next to her in the bed,
Yeah, everyone's
and she
heard
thought
that
that it was
story.
like he wanted to like spoon her.
No, I've never heard
Yeah,
this.
everyone's
You must have heard. No, come on.
I have not.
Don't.
I have not.
You have heard that story.
haven't.
Everyone's heard that story.
You gonna tell me? I've heard it.
Well, this woman gets a snake for a
Python.
python. Yeah, python. That's the one it was. And she was like late, and she was like, I don't know. She let it just roam free in the house, and every night she went to sleep, she saw the python laying next to her, and she thought the python was like being like a nice pet. Do you know what I mean? Like wanted to like get petted in bed or whatever. When in fact it was like measuring her out to see if it could eat her.
And did it eventually eat her?
Nah. Well, I don't know.
She's kind of asking for it there, and she.
Yeah, but
You
I
ever
almost-
heard from her since?
I haven't. Well, I don't. The thing is, I don't think this woman actually exists. I think it's like an urban legend.
Yeah.
Same as
I
like
don't know.
those scary stories you used to get told when you were a kid. I'm not too sure.
Right. Okay. Another massive tangent there. Bringing it back to. We're on an hour and 10 now. I had a couple more questions, if that's all right, about the whole like getting picked up by chiefs thing.
Yeah.
You know, when you said you were in Australia and that you were like started putting feelers out basically to come back to the UK.
Yeah.
Did you have an agent over here that you just got in touch with and they did all that for you? Or were you literally reaching out to clubs?
Yes, kind of on both. I did have an agent, but I think it might have been Mitch Lees or Nosey. One of them messaged me because I was with Mitch Lees the year before at London Welsh, and I think he said, "Did you want to, like, what are you up to? How's it over there? Would you be keen in speaking to Rob Hunter?" Because I knew Rob Hunter from under 20s. So that, I think it was kind of like a twofold way. I think this was all the way back, like I think it was like Facebook message. So I ended up speaking to Rob and Rob Hunter, and yeah, then agents sort of started to take care of the details and stuff like that.
So is Rob Hunter a coach at Chiefs? Or
Yeah,
he was?
he's forwards coach. Yeah.
Okay, right, I've got you. So there wasn't any, because I remember at Loughborough, like all the boys that didn't, go straight somewhere after, they all were all making like footage, videos and stuff like that. So you didn't have to do one of those.
That was a proper movement, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was a
YouTube highlight reels.
The best highlight reel ever, Callum Wilson's first highlight reel.
Yeah, his and Joe Atkinson's, to be fair, was ridiculous as well. Probably still on YouTube.
Yeah.
Real bad low D footage.
Yeah. Well, it was alright by the time we got to the end of Loughborough. Yeah. Vici levels, obviously,
Vici
is
levels
the cover song.
featured heavily. Yeah, featured heavily. They were big. These are big cultural movements.
Yeah, that was
huge.
actually, yeah.
So and then you arrive in Exeter. You have your op, and then like how was the integration into that? Like how long did it take you to get? So first of all, how old were you when you arrived?
I came back at 21, and sort of it came midway through a season. So I basically got patched up for the last month of the season. So that whole period of time, just in rehab, really didn't like the rehab aspect. It was a bit different in a lot of ways, even different to like how Wasps did rehab and stuff, and probably socially as well didn't really feel comfortable, because as three people that play sport, you kind of always know, like, it always takes that game to really embed you into like the social aspect.
Yeah.
People will be like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna come here, come do this," which is good, but you always feel like there's something missing, and I guess the reason you're there, everyone's there, is to play.
Yeah.
And so it was actually after playing, because obviously my doubts would be, like, I want to prove myself while I'm here, opposed to, he's just some injured guy that's here. And so that kind of always weighed heavily on my mind. So it wasn't until that next pre-season where we started playing that I felt a lot more socially sort of like interwoven into the club. And I mean, at least built on it from that first bit, and then so sort of, I guess the pre-season went quite well. That was your first pre-season, and I managed to start featuring as sort of like a replacement really that year. Again, like being very heavily reliant on external feedback. Each week I thought I was going to get dropped, and I'm thinking, geez, like, one thing went wrong, and then. But, everything was actually going pretty decent in hindsight. It's just that sort of feeling you always have, you always, probably a little bit of self-doubt, or you always just feel like, there's just any reason I bring someone else back in.
Well, I think that's that's a kind of defining features of a lot of athletes, right? They're their own worst critic, and that's kind of why they push themselves to the heights they get to. You're always judging your game, analysing the minute details,
that's
and then
a good point, I'd say,
working on it. So was Ben Moon the kind of like out and out starting loose head when you arrived?
Yeah, at that point he was. There was Sturgey, who'd been a stalwart for probably, a decade.
Yeah, he was.
But he was coming back from an injury. Mooney was in the driver's seat. Rimmer was also, he was kind of, because he'd also played tight head, so sometimes I think he'd get caught in no man's land between being a tight head or a loose head, or then when you start wearing both hats, you end up wearing no hat. But the first two or 3 years, it was Mooney, Rimmer, and myself were kind of the three loose heads playing, and Sturgey was at that point probably at the end of the road.
And Exeter were about sort of like mid-table team at that point.
I think we finished fifth.
Finished,
First year, the year before I arrived. So they were still like, they were there or thereabouts.
Definitely on the move.
What about you, how when you arrived, how long did it take you to sort of like get?
I think I arrived in June, which is mad now because it's been like 6 years since I actually moved down here, which has gone quick, like proper quick. And so I arrived down in June, did the pre-season, and I was probably labouring under a misapprehension that I was going to get like, I don't know, I was a couple of benches, then probably get put in. I played like one half of one pre-season game and then just didn't really feature and stuff like that. And I just was very, very naive really in thinking that how long it takes to get in. And I played my first game, it was against Ospreys off the bench, and like that was at the end of January. That was like 6-7 months in.
Yeah.
And then sort of was like kind of in, kind of not. And then basically Tom Francis got banned for 8 weeks and Murray Lowe had quite a serious injury. So there was kind of like a bit of a gap. And then just... But that's the kind of sometimes... And my old man says sometimes it's better to be lucky than be good. And I actually do think there's a lot of weight to that, because you can be the best player in the world, but if a team's going well and the players are bedded in, you can go years without ever getting or if they have someone they want to put over you, even sometimes performances don't matter. It is not equal, like, and it's quite a grim reality that is the grim reality of team sport we were talking about earlier. Individual sport, politics, there are some politics involved, but if you're like a sickhead, really, really good boxer or MMA fighter and you keep knocking people out, you probably will eventually get the opportunities.
Yeah.
Whereas team sports, you are reliant on a coach's opinion to put you in the team, which is if you're on the bad side of that, it's hard, man. It's really hard.
Yeah, but I agree. But I think that's really, there's only two different times that factors. Is you got maybe established person and a young person with potential, where there'll be a disparity between ability.
Yeah.
And this is a general point, not specific. And they can potentially pick the young person due to, future yields. Obviously, them investing them. And the only other time I really see it is if you're neck and neck with someone. So if you're really sort of head and shoulders above, those conversations don't really circulate.
Yeah.
I think those conversations happen if you're like, I don't know, mid-30s, and it's like, right, should we start looking at sort of breaking a younger lad, or if you're neck and neck with someone, it's like then it will go down to other variables. What else does he bring other than them being equal on the pitch? So just another way of looking at that one. And you had a nasty toe injury, obviously.
I did have a nasty toe injury. I've had a couple of foot injuries. I always did take care of your feet.
Yeah,
that's what I realised. No, I did have a nasty on the beach.
No, the A-League game. The A-League.
Yeah, no, that was another one. Yeah, no. Had a couple of bumps in the road.
Did you, over that 6 months you were out, or the 6 months you were kind of sitting tight, did you realise after you'd got over that initial, right, okay, actually I'm not going to be massively involved here from the off? Did you think, right, okay, I've got this, that, and to work on, and you just got to work in the background?
Well, kind of, yeah. I probably realised how I was quite badly out of shape and nowhere near fit enough, because I probably had an inflated sense of self-worth because of my role at Jersey. At Jersey, I was brought in as a starter, an out-and-out starter, and I probably painted over a lot of cracks that I had physically, especially physically and actually everything physically and as far as being a good player was. And I probably just realised I had a lot further to go than I actually thought I did. And I still do now, and that's what I say to a lot of whenever I was talking to young props and stuff like that, I'm saying something you can get the most change out of. I can't remember which S&C said it to me now, but he was something you can always get change out of is just by getting fitter and getting leaner and getting stronger. And it's a lot of young people can just get massive strides in that area before, if you're not playing. And it will when you get the opportunity, you'll be in much better stead than if you hadn't done those kind of things.
And then you work on the left-handed passing and stuff like that.
I still am trying to get to grips with that one. Yeah, still a bit of a hole.
Right, so that kind of brings us up to modern day Alec, and I know we were going to talk about we're going to go into economics and stuff, but I think you guys have got some training you got to shoot off to. So should we wrap it up there? We're 1 hour 18 minutes.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good time. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Thanks, cool. Alec, for coming on. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Do you want to plug?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll do. I'll do that. So, for anyone that doesn't know, I own a health food and supplement company called Ape Nutrition. We do a whole bunch of different products: CBD oil, mushroom extract powders. We've just launched grass-fed beef organ capsule, which is selling absolute wildfire. Yeah. And a colostrum powder. If you want to know any more, website is apenutrition.co.uk. If you've got any questions, drop me a message on Instagram. Instagram handle is ape_nutrition. Thanks for listening. Do you want to do yours? Your stuff?
Harry.Williams91.
Your Instagram handle.
Instagram, yeah, at Harry.Williams91.
I thought you were off that.
I still have my account, like I don't have the app, but I need to start pushing content, so I'm told by my advisors.
And Alec, if anyone wants to ask you any questions about dangerous animals in Australia,
Genuinely think it's Alec Hepburn. I think it's Alec Hepburn.
We'll link it in the thing below, and we've also now got a Instagram handle for the podcast.
Oh yeah,
it's Altered States Pod. So yeah, please follow us there if you're at all interested in what we're doing. If you're not, don't worry. Thanks for listening, guys.
Nice one.
Cheers.